All right, exciting news today. We have Todd back after a long episode on Friday. New signing alert. We're not breaking news. I like breaking news, but we're not breaking news this time. But we got a new signing, first one of the year. Dominik Wanner coming from Germany. Obviously, I want you to tell us a little bit about him, but I'm excited to see what he brings to the club.
No, we had an opportunity with him. He was in. This happens every now and again with players where a move, an expected transfer doesn't happen. It falls through at the last second and sort of leaves them in limbo. So that's what happened with Dominik. So he didn't have a club, in the second half of the year. And as we looked at video, as we did our research, looked through the analysis, our analysts were so high on him. We loved him, and we had an opportunity to actually bring him in. He was, kind of without a club, and that's very rare. You get to see somebody of that level on trial. So we had him in with our group. I'm trying to remember when that was, if it was September.
I think that's what I talked to Katie about it. I think she said September.
Yeah, sometime in September. And, what better way to check him out than throw him in with our group and compare and contrast, right? And I think it was pretty telling how excited our players were about him and how good he was in our environment. And this is, again, a guy who wasn't, in mid-season form. He's an attacking player. He's a guy who can score goals. He's scored a lot of goals. He's most recently with Kickers Offenbach and in Germany. Has played at some big clubs and is a good age. He's a young player, mid-20s, that still has a lot of youth and vigor and energy to get up and down the line. And being more of an attacking player, he's also played in the wing back position, as an outside back, and he can use some of those attacking skills to really hurt the opposition, and it's something that I think he can be massive for us. So we have options with him. He's versatile. He can play up higher. He can play in that wingback role. So we're excited about what he's going to bring. Not shocking. I know you said wingback, but not shocking that the first signing is the left back. It's important. Most important position on the field, as we all know.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so he's got a lot of great experience. He played at a couple different clubs, came up in the Dortmund academy. But what was it about him? I know you mentioned a few things, but what are the few things that really stood out to you guys when watching him on film? And then when you brought him in September, what were the attributes that stood out?
He's got in the final third, he's just very clinical, very electric. He's fast in terms of the final action. And his finishing is top notch. I mean, he gets around the goal, and he scored a lot of goals at a high level.
Yeah.
So that was impressive for a player who wasn't a striker. And I think that impressed us. Seeing him in person, you could see that. He's got very quick, quick feet, moves well, and is fast. So I think having that pace, having that ability to be vertical and get behind teams, I think is very good. And the versatility is what we like as well. We'll see how he best fits into the new system, and whether that's up higher or coming from a deeper position, he's going to be able to serve a couple different roles.
Does this, because he's a free agent, does that change the way he comes in as an international slot? We don't talk about this. This isn't talked about enough across the league and media, even though this is kind of a version of that. But does this count as an international slot? Because
it still
counts. Okay.
International slot, so working through the visa process still.
Sure.
And being able to do it early helps. We don't have to be as rushed as we normally are.
Right.
Because it's not just getting the visa, then it's going to a U.S. consulate, doing all the different things that you got to do and all the hoops you got to jump through. Same international spot, but easier to acquire, being that he's a free agent.
Right.
Yeah.
What makes him unique? What did you notice when you were scouting him? And I guess more importantly, how do you think he's going to fit in with the group and the guys that we're bringing back?
Yeah, I think one of the things we're looking for is, especially down our left side, is more in the attack. And I think that's why we erred a little bit more on the side of a player who's on the attacking end as opposed to the defensive end. Would rather have somebody, who is going to challenge the opposition, going to put them on their heels, as opposed to being a little bit more on our heels. And I think that's, Jack has certainly done that from the right, and we've seen it at times from, this past year and two with Aldi and with Dami. But we wanted to get even more aggressive on that front and really, have a threat to match Jack on the right.
How do you find, there's so many players across the world that play soccer at a high level. How do you go and find some of these guys, like a guy like Dominik Wanner, who played in Germany? He's played at a pretty high level in Germany. But, I mean, there's so many different guys, and I'm sure you're watching tape constantly of different players. How do you find somebody like Domi?
Yeah, it's really the network of agents that we have at the club, which is several hundred. And this one came from, has players in MLS. Currently, this is his first USL player. And he came over as well and wanted to see the club, wanted to see the setup, and was, this is also a good kind of check for us as a club because, an agent like that who's been all over the world, been to MLS clubs, landed players in high-level teams, to see our environment, to be complimentary and almost awestruck a little bit of what we're doing here. I think it was cool, and it's also important. So again, a rare thing that we don't do all the time, but had an agent in that ultimately I think helped in terms of recruiting the player because they see what he's getting into and how high level this team is, the city's involvement, all the different things, our fan base. Our front office here in Doko, like all those things are show really well, and I think are a big factor in why he was able to come.
I'm sure you're getting a lot of video. You probably get a ton of emails from various agents. Some you have relationships, some you don't. How do you try and weed through the ones that you think could fit versus ones that wouldn't? I mean, I know that's got to be a complicated process.
Yeah, it's time consuming. I think part of it is just knowing what we want and having a clear idea of the profile, the type of player we're looking for. This off season, we've got a handful of spots we need to fill, and knowing exactly what they are, who might be an international eligible guy, or who's a guy that that's gonna be a domestic player. Mm-hmm. Being clear with agents and being clear with the market about that is important because that weeds out a lot of if somebody sends us a goalkeeper and it's like, hey, we've got 2 great goalkeepers, we're happy, then it just saves that little bit of hassle. So try to be clear, try to be a little proactive with our profiles and what we're looking for. You still get sent some ridiculous resumes. I got a bad coaching one, from you last week. So it happens,
I was going to tell you, I do occasionally get a few players that reach out to me wanting me to put them in contact. So I'm just saying, if you ever need a hookup to a youth player who's got some skill at the U8 level, I think I got some hookups there. All right, Todd. So Dominik Wanner, first one off the board that you signed. What I know we talked about a little bit on Friday. Is the process starting to slow down now? Do we expect to see a few more in the next coming weeks, or do we expect that to come after the coaching hire?
Yeah, we'll see. I think we're not going to wait for the coach to make moves, but I'm also not going to go over the top in terms of urgency. Mm-hmm. If something makes sense, I think it's right to act on it. So we'll continue to work all of our channels and see if we can continue to make the team better. Again, this is an exciting period for the club. A real leap forward now with the new stadium and the new ownership group. To add to Kevin Nagel and everything, that he's going to continue to manage the team in the same way, but now we're stronger because of what Wilton Rancheria is bringing to the table. It's phenomenal, and I think that interest is not just coming from coaches; it's now coming from players too. So, all the advantages we've always had from being a big club and our fan support, it's even enhanced now this offseason because of the good news.
All right. Well, thank you so much. 2 times in 4 days. Thank you, Todd.
You got it. Thanks.